Hello everybody, today I'm going to be showing you all my Piston Cup racers from old timers to Cars 1 stock cars to Cars 3 stock cars to next gens. Let's get started. So first up we got the one and only fabulous Hudson Hornet. Number 51, raced from 1951 to 1954. The fabulous Hudson Hornet is a very good release and I was really happy to get this one. Next up we got one of his buddies, River Scott. River Scott is number 34. He doesn't actually have a sponsor. He's sponsorless, but he's a good racer. Next up we got the legendary racer, Leroy Hemming, Doc Hudson's rival. Leroy Hemming is a very popular release, and a lot of people really want this one. He goes very quietly. Next up we got another background racer, Slim Hood. Slim Hood here is a very good release again. Very popular and rare. Next up we got, not really you say a Thomasville racer, but I count it as one since he's old. He has the old Piston Cup logo. We got Mario Andretti. Mario Andretti is a very good racer, number 11. I got him with the old timers because he is an old timer. Next up we got the one and only Darrell Cartrip. Darrell Cartrip is another good release and was my first ever old racer before Mario Andretti came. And that's all the old timers. Next up we got Cars 1 stock cars. First up we got Lightning Mcqueen. Lightning Mcqueen here is a very popular release, and this is the Precision Series 1. I use them in a lot of my videos. I only use them, actually I never used them in any of my videos. On my old channel I did, but then I keep getting new phones, so I keep losing them. Next up we got his rival, Chick Hicks. Chick Hicks here was released from 2006 up till now, 2020, as a Blue Desert release. This is the old 2006 one, and I'm really happy about it. Next up we got Mr. the King. Mr. the King here is actually a lenticular release, and it's one of the only lenticular releases I have besides a bunch of others. But yeah, lenticular were pretty rare for me, and this was one of the first ones I got. So this is Strip Brothers the King. Next up we got, who is he? Bradford Rutherford. Winford here is a legendary racer for RPM, number 64. And he's actually always been able to come in fourth in the Piston Cup. This is the Thailand variant, by the way. Next up we got one of the first ever releases by Mattel, Claude Scruggs. Claude Scruggs Leakless, number 52 here, was released from 2006 to 2020 as a Blue Desert release. This is the lenticular release. Next up, speaking of old timers, here we have Aiken Axler. Aiken Axler here is a very good racer of Nitrowade. Number 28, and he was released from 2006 to 2020. Next up we got Ernie Gearson, sponsored by Experiment. He was released from 2008, I think, 2008 to, I don't remember when his last release was. So, yeah. Next up we got Murray Clutchburn. Murray Clutchburn here was released in the first released in the not the Motor Speedway actually. It was first released in a single in the Piston Cup series, which I don't remember which year, which I think was 2008 or 2007. Next up we got Greg Candyman, who was first released in the Motor Speedway of the South set and now is being released as a Thailand variant last year. Next up is a custom. We got Floyd Mulvihill. Floyd Mulvihill here is a legendary Piston Cup racer who was raced during 2006 and 2017. Almost forgot the 17 there. Next up we got Lee Revkins, who raced during, who actually was released from 2008 or 2007 to up till 2020 in the new Blue Desert series. Next up we got the legendary racer who hasn't been released since 2010, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is a very popular release of the Piston Cup Series, besides the Apple Racer, which I don't have yet, and I will get eventually. I will be getting the Apple Racer eventually. That's all for the Cars 1 stock cars. Next up, we got Cars 3 stock cars. First up, we got Lightning McQueen again, or Rusty's McQueen. This McQueen is one of my favorite racers and favorite McQueens of all time because of how cool he looks. Next up, we got Bobby Swift, sponsored by Octane Gang number 19. Bobby Swift here is a very, very popular release and one of my favorite racers. Next up, we got another buddy of McQueen's, Cal Weathers. Cal Weathers here was released in 2017 up to 2020 now. And he might be released next year in 2021. Next up, we got Brick Yardley, released in 2017 to 2020 as a new single coming out. And I hope you're all excited. Next up, we got Murray Clutchburn, who was only released in 2017 as a single. And he was also released in a multi-pack that included, what was his name? Taji Castlenut and Danny Suarez. And I don't remember who the last person was. Next up, we got Paunchy Wipeout, the black-eyed variant, since I do not have the blue-eyed variant. And I really want the blue-eyed variant. Next up, we got Jack DePost. Jack DePost here is another popular release, who was released from 2017 to 2018. Next up, we got Floyd Mulvihill, sponsored by Gasprin. Like I said, he raced during 2017 too. He was released in 2018 as a Elantra, I think I remember, and then was released as a Blue Desert in 2020. Next up, we got Darren Leadfoot, who is being released from 2017 to the new 2020 case as a new Thailand variant. It's my only shiny wax racer. Next up, we got Rex Revler gaskets. Got a little slippery there. Rex Revler here is one of my only gasket. Is actually my only gasket racer so far. I will be getting. Yeah, I need a new Rex Revler actually. Next up, we got Parker Breakston, the Thailand variant, and I got this guy offline because I do not have Speedy Comet yet. I do not have Speedy Comet. So yeah, this is Parker Breakston. Next up, we got a rare release. We got Jimmy Cables, who was only released in multi-packs, along with Dirksen D'Agostino, and I do not have Dirksen because I got this guy offline only once, because I only got this guy offline. Next up, we got another rare release, Todd Marcus from Cars 3, who was only released in multi-packs so far. He might be getting a re-release as a single. You never know. Next up, we got my first ever Piston Cup racer from Cars 3, Chip Gearings. Chip Gearings is a very popular release and it was only released in 2017 in the Cars 3 series, and he was also released as a mud racer. Next up, we got, speaking of the model, we got Carl Clutchen. Carl Clutchen is my only Easy Idle racer and will not be my only Easy Idle racer soon once I get Harvey Rodcap and Ruby Easy Oaks. Next up, we got Tommy Highbanks, my Folks Wheel Drive racer. I got this guy off of my friend, who I'm not going to name because I don't want you to start spamming him with requests, like I said. We'll get a very good release. Next up, we got this guy who I actually found in a store, Buck Bearingley. Buck Bearingley here I found in a store along with Greg Candyman and Tiny Lugsworth. Next up, we got Next Gens. Next Gens. First up, we got Dinoco Cruz Ramirez, the peg warmer. A lot of people are starting to hate seeing her now because she's so much on the pegs. But I got her off the pegs because I actually could not find her, and now I can find her everywhere. Next up, we got not a Next Gen, but Fabulous Lightning McQueen. Fabulous McQueen here I found in a store along with the Fabulous Hudson Hornet, actually. They were right next to each other. Next up, we got the most hated Next Gen in all of the entire group. We have Jackson Storm. Jackson Storm here is a very popular yet hated release because of how much he's been released. A lot of people just want him to be stopped a lot of people just want him to stop being released because he's such a peg warmer. Speaking of peg warmers, here we have Ryan Inside Laney, sponsored by Blinker. Ryan Inside Laney is just constantly being released in multi-pack, singles, and 2-pack. Actually, no, he's never been released in the 2-pack. Next up, we got not such a peg warmer release, Barry to Pedal. Barry to Pedal is a very popular release because he was first released in a multi-pack, the Next Gen 4-pack, which I could not get because I can't find it anymore, which I'm pissed off about. Next up, we got Spiky Phillips, sponsored by Little Torquey Pistons, number 112. Number sponsored by 117. He's a very, very popular release, and he was only released in a 2-pack with... Actually, he was released in a 2-pack with Chase Race-A-Lot and him, and released in a 2-pack with Eric Breaker. Speaking of Eric Breaker, here he is right now. Eric Breaker is a very, very popular... Another popular release who was also released in the multi-pack with... 2-pack with, Spiky Phillips over there, and a 2-pack with, what was his name? Barry to Pedal. Next up, speaking of Chase Race-A-Lot, here we have Chase Race-A-Lot right now. Chase Race-A-Lot is another racer that spoke in the Cars 3 movie. But he's pretty hard to release to find, actually. Barely been able to find in stores for me. Next up, we got a surprise release, Michael Rotor. Michael Rotor was first released as a Fireball Beach racer and then was released as a normal racer in 2018. In 19. Next up, we got a custom, Jonas Carvers. Jonas Carvers here is a very, very popular release, and he's already been released as a single now. So eventually I'll turn this guy into someone else. But for now, I'll just have this guy until I can get the real one. Next up, we got one of my favorite releases, Cam Spinner. Cam Spinner here is a very popular release and my favorite release of all of them. Actually, no, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is one of my favorite releases. Speaking of which, did we show him? Yeah, we did. Next up, we got Richie Guns It. Richie Guns It here is a very popular release, and I have the Fireball Beach version. I really want to get the normal one very badly, but don't worry, I will be able to get him. Next up, we got another boring release. We got Daniel Suarez. Daniel Suarez here is a very, very pretty boring release, and has been released multiple times, only in 2017, and that's it. Next up, we got a custom, JP Drive. JP Drive here is a very popular release. Well, actually, he's not been released. He's only been released by Atomica and Disney Store. Other times, he hasn't been released. Next up, we got the Damage Racers. First up, we got Damage the King. He was released in the Racer-Rama series and so on and so forth. Next up, we got more customs. We got Damaged Cam Spinner, which I made from another cam spinner I have that was an error, actually. I forgot to paint in one of the eyes on him. I don't want to peel this back because it'll be hard to replace. Next up, we got the one and only Damaged Claude Scruggs. Yeah, this guy is pretty damaged. You can see he's missing a tire. Next up, we got Damaged Lightning McQueen. I did this from the Cars 1 McQueen, and he's been a very popular release of mine ever since. I would not give this one up. I would not sell this one. And that's all for this video, actually. That's actually all for this video today. If you really liked this video, I hope you really enjoy it. Please give a like, subscribe, And we'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.